And we are back. Welcome to Wednesday's predictions for the EFL/League/Carabao Cup. After what was a very good night of predictions for myself, I was able to accurately predict the 3-2 result for Ipswich over Wolves, as well as the 2-2 draw with Mansfield winning on penalties over Peterborough. If that's not worth a like and subscribe, I don't know what is, because these predictions are so hard to do when it comes to cup games, but we have done very, very well yesterday. Obviously, we didn't get every single one of them correct, and Dave is still sulking after Luton's defeat away at Exeter. But that is the challenge of these videos, and that is why I love doing them. And we have got 9 more fixtures in the Carabao Cup for you tonight. If you did miss my reaction to Manchester United's win last night, you can check out that video available in the top of your screen right now. But as for today, let's get into all of the action in tonight's fixtures. And we start things off with Bournemouth taking on Stoke, a Premier League side, against a former Premier League regular. And look, I think Bournemouth have started playing really well this season. I'd expect them to make some changes to their lineup, but I think it's still going to be a game that you would expect Bournemouth to win. They've also been defending relatively well, I think, considering how poor they were defensively last season. I think they've built well under Iraola. I expect them to get the result tonight against Stoke City. I'm going to go for 2-0 to Bournemouth. The first of what are many Premier League ties this evening sees Aston Villa taking on Everton. Now, obviously, Aston Villa have a lot of commitments going on at the moment. They lost in the Europa League last week, or the Europa Conference League, should I say. And Everton have started to put together a couple of good performances, including a fantastic win away at Brentford at the weekend. So I would be very, very tempted to give Everton the result here. I'm just not convinced as to what Sean Dyche is going to do for this game. I think if Sean Dyche played his first 11 tonight, I think Everton would be the side that goes through. However, I think he is going to make some changes with a massive game against Luton in the Premier League away at the weekend. So, or should I say at home at the weekend. So I think that's going to be the priority, making sure that Everton beat Luton in the Premier League as a relegation rival. So I think they will make changes for tonight. And I think in that case, Aston Villa will be too strong. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Aston Villa, and we will see what happens there. From an all-Premier League tie, we move to an all-Championship tie, and it is Blackburn Rovers against Cardiff City. Now, if this fixture had taken place 6 months ago, I'd have absolutely gone for a Blackburn Rovers win. However, Blackburn have made a shocking start to this season, and Cardiff have actually been playing pretty well. So I have to judge this as if it were a Championship fixture. Obviously, both sides could make changes, and if they do, then, I mean, anything's up in the air. But if I'm putting this fixture as a Championship fixture right now, I'm going 2-1 to Cardiff, and I think that is possibly the most likely result tonight. But we shall see. But I'm feeling a win for the Welsh side. On to Brentford up against Arsenal. Brentford in desperate need of a result. They have not played well so far this season. Or should I say the results have not been going well for them so far this season. And their home form, which has usually been so good for them, really has deserted them. They came up against an Arsenal team who are looking to bounce back from what was probably a disappointing display against Tottenham. They played well at times, but in the end, it didn't quite work out for them. Obviously, again, they do have several commitments in other competitions as well, and they'll be looking to make some changes. But I think when Arsenal do bring in the likes of Nelson and Smith Rowe and a few others, they do tend to perform almost, if not at the same level as the players that start for them usually. So I'd expect Arsenal to get the win tonight. I think Brentford, despite the real need for a big performance, I don't think they're going to be able to handle Arsenal. And I'm going to go for 2-0 to the Gunners. The next one, I think, is possibly the hardest one to call. It is Chelsea against Brighton. Again, yet another all-Premier League tie. But I really think this is a case of one or two things happening. I think regardless, Mauricio Pochettino is going to make changes for Chelsea, and these players are going to have a real opportunity, given how poorly Chelsea have played in the Premier League, to really stamp their authority on this sort of game and say to the manager, look, we want our opportunity to play in the Premier League. If that happens, I can definitely see Chelsea getting a result, because also you have to bear in mind that when Brighton played in the Europa League last week, they lost at home to AEK Athens. So when Brighton make changes to their side, it tends to go wrong for them. So the first scenario I can see happening is Chelsea winning because of those reasons. Their players coming in make the difference, and Brighton's changes end up in them losing. The other scenario I can see happening is due to the fact that Brighton did lose to Athens last week, Roberto De Zerbi is not going to want to see another disappointment in a cup competition. He'll play a slightly stronger team, or he'll actually push his team to do even better in this one. And I'm that is the result that I'm going to go for. And I'm going to go for another defeat for Chelsea. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Brighton. But like I say, this is probably the hardest one to call because I think there are a lot of mitigating factors that have to be considered before this game kicks off. Next up, it is Fulham against Norwich. Fulham, who, again, have played relatively well so far this season. Norwich, who have made their usual half-decent start to the Championship without not quite making it all the way to the top just yet. I would expect Fulham to get the win in this one, especially at home. I'm going to go for 2-0 to the Premier League side. Next up, it is Lincoln City taking on West Ham United. Yet another one of the sides with multiple commitments this season. I think at the end of the day, I think West Ham can put out a full reserve team and be too strong for Lincoln. We saw it last night with Burnley taking on Salford, which of course I accurately predicted as a strong win to the Premier League side. I think the same sort of thing is going to happen tonight. I'm going to go for 3-1 to West Ham. I think Lincoln are more than capable of putting up a fight, but in the end, it should be a comfortable win for the Hammers. Speaking of comfortable wins, we have Liverpool taking on Leicester. Again, I would expect Liverpool to make some changes, but given the attacking prowess that Liverpool have available to them, and given the fact that Leicester City currently sit top of the table in the Championship, I think we can expect Leicester to make some changes, and with Liverpool's changes still not really have it make too much of an effect on their performance. I'm going to go for 4-1 to Liverpool. I think it should be an absolute breeze for them in the end, although, of course, I will be rooting for Leicester to knock out one of the big rivals for this competition. And then finally, it is Newcastle United taking on Manchester City. If there was ever an opportunity for Manchester City to be knocked out of this competition, it is tonight. They didn't play particularly great against Nottingham Forest at the weekend, and crucially for this game tonight, they have lost Rodri due to the red card. On top of that, Newcastle have just come off the back of an 8-0 win away at Sheffield United, where obviously Manchester City struggled to get a result themselves just a few weeks ago. So I have to look at this fixture and go, if it's going to happen, if Manchester City are going to lose in this competition, there's not going to be a better opportunity than tonight, because Newcastle are right where they want to be, and City have just had a poor performance and have lost arguably their most important player in midfield. So I'm still not convinced it's going to be enough, given how comfortable that Manchester City were when they played Newcastle in the league a few weeks ago. But I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, and then we'll see what happens if it goes to penalties. But I can just see it being one of those games where it ends in a 1-1 draw or a 2-2 draw, and then City just win it on penalties to progress like they always do, because they always seem to find a way in these cup ties, Manchester City. But I really do think this is a fantastic opportunity for Newcastle to knock out the favourites. And again, obviously, as a Manchester United fan, I'm hoping that they do. So I'm going to go for the draw. I'm going to hope that Newcastle then get the win on penalties. But we shall see, because as we all know, on any given moment, Manchester City are more than capable of turning over anyone. That is going to be it for today's video. That is going to be it for this round of the EFL Cup predictions. As always, let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments section below. I'll be back with my fantasy football video tomorrow lunchtime. And then, of course, the Premier League prediction series will return once again on Friday morning. Thank you very much for watching once again. I'll see you then.